time is Chisei Heart of Oceans, and what we're going to do is the reason we chose Chisei Heart of Oceans is that he is apparently to the naked eye appears to be a terrible creature,
obnoxiously bad.
He is a legend, and theoretically you could build an EDH deck around this guy, and we are going to find that deck. We've all picked out some cards that would be really sweet Chisei tech, and we're all going to share them.
Just at the jump off here, Adam, if I may. Last time we also talked about the periphery of this card. We talked about Ib before we actually talked about the card per se. So I just want to point out to everyone that's looking at this card right now, Chisei, what he does, 2 colorless, 2 blue, legendary spirit. He's from Betrayers of Kamigawa, yeah. So he flies at the beginning of your upkeep. You sacrifice him unless you remove a counter from a permanent you control, and he's a 4/4, right? Okay, whatever. Look at the art. Like, he's watering himself. And then he has like this wise old vaguely Asian looking face poking out of the water, and he appears to be wearing like a belt of disconnected sequins. Like, that is on, I don't even know. What do you say?
I love it.
Real talk. Well, you might be alone on that. And what is he sitting on? Oh, whatever. Okay, so this card looks like a bad acid trip. Ib at least looks sweet. Yeah, let's go over our Chisei tech. And also, before I get started on this, if you have a deck with this guy at the helm, we're not hating. You know, don't take this the wrong way. If this is your favorite card in the world, like, that's cool. You can exercise that right. But this thing looks like fucking garbage on paper to me. So last time though, we turned it around, and I built that deck, and we have the Ib Halfheart Nation now. People are playing mad Ib Halfheart decks out there, if people aren't lying to me in emails and tweets. So maybe, Chisei can get a little love here too. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So Adam, why don't you kick us off with your picks?
Yeah, sure thing. I would say that, what obvious suggestion to me, first of all, is persist cards, but that's not very interesting. A little bit more interesting in terms of my first choice is Mesmeric Trance. Mesmeric Trance is an enchantment for a blue 1, and it has cumulative upkeep. The cumulative upkeep is 1 colorless mana, and it costs blue to activate. Blue, discard a card, draw a card. This is really powerful. It came on my radar when somebody in my group started using it in a deck that was it was a combo deck. This tears through your library. It's just
super compulsion.
It's so efficient. Right, it is super compulsion. You'll be like the cumulative upkeep cost, even without Chisei, is pretty small. Like if you're able to be in a position where you cast this and just spend all your mana looting, then when you untap and pay 1 and do it again, like it's really strong. And then of course with Chisei, the interaction, reason I'm mentioning it is because the cumulative upkeep never gets higher than 1. But the other reason I mention it is because it is a sick combo with my other suggestion for what you should do with Chisei. And that is also an enchantment with cumulative upkeep. It's called Dreams of the Dead. And the only reason I even know about this card is because I was searching Gatherer for cumulative upkeep cards and researching for this segment.
I doubt that's something that happens very often on Gatherer as well. Like, if you could collect stats, that's a rarity, I'm sure.
Dreams of the Dead is a blue enchantment. It costs blue 3, and it says it has the following ability. Blue 1, return target white or black creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That creature gains cumulative upkeep 2. If the creature would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. Now, I know this is a mono-blue Chisei deck, which means for this card to do anything, you're going to have a Glamerdye theme. But I think that could be really fun, because once you actually do Glamerdye your Dreams of the Dead to say return target white or blue creature from the graveyard to the battlefield, it becomes amazing. For example, say you set up with Mesmeric Trance and you discard a bunch of creatures. Then you get to put them all into play for 2 mana apiece. Now, they are all going to go away permanently, but you're in blue. Your recursion, this was probably the only way you're going to recur those guys anyway. And you can do all kinds of cool tricks. Like, one of those cards that you put in your graveyard could be River Kelpie, which is also on theme with Chisei, which means every other card that comes in is going to draw you a card. You could also put a Polar Kraken in there and cheat on the mana cost, which is also on theme because that also has cumulative upkeep. Or you could just have really good blue creatures that you're returning with it. At any rate, Chisei Glamerdye deck with Mesmeric Trance and Dance of the Dreams sounds awesome to me.
Yeah, That was really good. Especially, I like the River Kelby part. I just like that card. So, although Dreams of the Dead is actually just a good card anyway. Anyway, my picks, I've got Paradox Haze is my first one. This is an enchantment that was printed in Time Spiral. It's an aura that enchants a player. It's 2 colorless and a blue. At the beginning of enchanted player's first upkeep each turn, that player gets an additional upkeep step after this step. So basically you get 2 upkeeps. That's what this means ultimately. It's supposed to be a drawback on Chisei where you're taking the counters off, but obviously we're trying to build the deck around him. You should have lots of counters up in this bitch to make sure you're taking him off to feed him. Paradox Haze lets you just put more and more of those effects out there and not have to worry about these potentially detrimental counters. Like, I can only assume we're going to see a lot of cumulative upkeep here. Well, this allows you to actually do that, which is a rarity in any situation in Magic. But when you're playing your Chisei deck, that's really awesome. So, Paradox Haze, just get a couple extra counters out there, take a couple extra ones away. Should be pretty good with him situationally. If not, well, you're playing a Chisei deck, so your whole deck is probably going to be situational. Next pick is something that's just an awesome card in general. This is Glacial Chasm. It was an uncommon in Ice Age, and it's a land. It has a cumulative upkeep of paying 2 life. When it comes into the battlefield, you sacrifice the land. Creatures you can control can't attack, and prevent all damage that would be dealt to you. So this is the ultimate stalling card. People tend to overlook land destruction for some mysterious reason, so you can probably get away with some highway robbery on this bad boy. If you're not planning on doing a whole lot of attacking with your Chisei, which you actually might, like you could Voltron him up and beat someone to death with your floating mass of water with like a wise man face on it, but whatever. If that's not the plan at this time, you just need to buy some time to play some of your other situational cards, then Glacial Chasm is the one for you. So yeah, check that out, and you can also put this into good decks, so don't overlook that. So those are my picks. We're going to move along to Donovan next.
Well, my first pick is Decree of Silence, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but in case you weren't here, Decree of Silence is an 8-mana enchantment. It costs 6 and 2 blue. It says whenever an opponent plays a spell, counter that spell and put a depletion counter on Decree of Silence. If there are 3 or more depletion counters on Decree of Silence, sacrifice it. So basically what's going to happen is you play this card, and everyone stops playing Magic, except Chisei is going to sit there and remove all the counters that people have put on it little by little. So now this Chisei that people have been laughing at since the start of the game is pretty much like
the game.
Another. Yeah, it's the blue Braids Cabal minion.
There's another rule actually.
Let's see who's laughing now.
You overlooked the one rule on Decree as well that says you get the stink eye and all the attacks till you're dead. Because that's just how it goes down with this.
Well, if you make everyone attack you while you're playing Chisei Heart of Oceans, good for you.
But
I know that's
you have your Glacial Chasm in play.
Yes!
So, money in the bank.
Who's laughing now?
Yeah.
If Chisei is going to like run rampant and terrorize tables.
You can also, like, if you really want to get into it, like have 2 water pots, one in each hand, and just pour them over yourself. So, it put your opponents on tilt. Okay. Next card.
Alright, next card. I heard Adam mention persist creature, so I'm actually going to change my answer to be a little more on theme with my first suggestion. And this is Glen Elendra Archmage. This costs 3 and a blue. It's a 2/2 flyer. Has persist and says you can pay 1 blue and sacrifice it to counter target non-creature spell. So now this is yet another card that Chisei can make people stop playing Magic.
I like those are the ones that you picked, Donovan, of all the cards
Yes.
that you could have picked. Like, never mind these hilarious cumulative upkeep cards. I'm just going to pick cards that people hate. This is why he's that guy.
I think if you're going to pick like an obscure general, you have something to prove. You have to break it.
You
Like,
deserve the A tier goodness. Like when we were talking about Shivan Harvest with Ib, you deserve these cards in your deck. You've earned it by playing a guy that's made of water that needs to water himself to stay alive.
I envision a lot of very tiny violins coming out. Oh, poor mono blue. I don't care what your general is,
Yeah,
True.
Exactly.
I suppose you have us there. But if you were to get all these cards we're actually talking about to onto the board in some state, could you imagine the anarchy? Like, you'd be taking all these counters off, you'd be bringing your Glenelder Archmage back to life to, like, counter a spell situationally, you wouldn't be able to be attacked despite your Decree of Silence. It would be mayhem. mayhem that no one should be no one deserves to be subjected to that.
It's like casual mishmash Chisei stacks or something.
Yeah, it's in conclusion, it's awesome. And actually, to conclude things, we've got Benny's picks.
Yeah, well, I also, of course, was thinking about the cumulative upkeep stuff. My pick, my first card was Snowfall, which I think would help actually with some of the cumulative upkeep, kind of taxing your mana. Even though Chisei is keeping the cumulative upkeep at a minimum, it's still going to be sort of tying your mana. So I picked Snowfall, which is a Ice Age common with awesome artwork by Phil Foglio.
Phil Foglio.
Yes.
Realest shit ever.
It's an enchantment for a 2 colorless and a blue. It's got a cumulative upkeep of blue. But when it's in play, whenever an island is tapped for mana, its controller may add blue to his or her mana pool in addition to the mana that the land produces. And if that island is snow, its controller may add 2 blue to his or her mana pool instead. Spend this mana only to pay cumulative upkeep costs. So this will be, what you can use to pay off all the crazy cumulative upkeep stuff that Chisei is busily chowing down on with your Paradox Haze, and let you spend your mana for other things, like the Decree of Silence and such.
Also,
Yeah,
you can
definitely.
see the guy on the art is shook just because he saw this deck. He's like, whoa,
Right.
this shit is off the chain.
He's like, are you seriously playing Chisei?
Yeah, but look, now he's the one buried in snow.
Right. And the other card, I figured, if you're playing Chisei, go ahead and play Strata Scythe, which is a pretty new card that is from Scars of Mirrodin. It's an artifact for 3 mana. It's got an imprint ability. When Strata Scythe enters the battlefield, search your library for a land card, exile it, and shuffle your library. And equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each land on the battlefield with the same name as that card. So, as everyone's laughing at your Chisei, and you drop the Scythe, and all of a sudden it's 10.
Chisei goes into flip mode, yeah, and he starts beating dudes down.
Right.
He flies too,
And he flies, so it could be pretty scary. It's obviously a card that you look at for just about any monocolored deck, but I think in a deck like this with Chisei, he needs that big ass Scythe to
pimp slap people.
To get a little bit more respect.
Well, pimp slaps tend to bring respect.
Exactly.
All right, so that's Entourage on Chisei. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not planning on building this deck like I did with Ib Halfheart, but you should, because I got nothing.
I have to admit, I may build this thing. Actually, I've been inspired.
Okay, there we
Awesome.
go. At least one of us is gonna follow through with our own advice, which is always a good thing to do, I hear. So yeah, there you go. Entourage, Chisei, Heart of Oceans.